Adidas or Adidas Power Soccer International 97 is the sequel to the first game in the series that actually was released not long after the original game during the early days of the PlayStation. And with this sequel, it expands upon the available leagues and different divisions, with adding in more clubs as well as 56 national teams that you can play through more cups, tournaments and various different league types. And with the plethora of modes available, there's also an addition of an arcade mode that allows you to get more involved with various aspects of playability in terms of the players. So the general gameplay hasn't changed really at all as such. Even with the graphics, very little has changed from the original game. In most cases it feels more like an add-on rather than an actual sequel as such. That would change however with later games in the series, but the basic aspects and control systems are identical to that of the original game, and it has more of an arcade feel where you have to literally tackle and be quite aggressive in order to win the ball. But with the addition of the arcade mode, you have the ability to kind of change the rules in terms of the dynamics of how you play, where you can kick players and you can use various special moves in order to gain an advantage. But at the same time, while using special moves, it also decreases your stamina meter, which can affect your level of play. And even with players can get injured, so it takes longer to recover from various knocks or bumps that they'll get throughout the game, so that can affect their overall pace in the game, so they can actually run slower or faster. It really just depends on what happens throughout the game. So it adds a whole different dynamic to the play features of the game, and it's also a good element for the likes of the multiplayer mode, as this is a type of game that's great fun to have with your mates. As even though there's a lot of simulation style elements, the game plays more like an arcade style football game. And yes, it's quirky and it's tricky like the original game to get used to with the combinations of the controls, but it's one of those games that when you put a bit of time into it, it is a lot of fun, because one of the main aspects that the game does get right is the sound effects and the atmosphere. But it's generally very fast paced. You won't be able to run really too far with the ball before it's taken off you. And again, because with this being similar to the original game, with the play features and the controls, not a lot has changed. So you can get away with using some of the tips and tricks and even some of the hidden tricks that you could use in the original game, which is what I found. Even going back to my first experience of this game, I originally played this on a demo that was part of the Essential PlayStation magazine. It was volume 4 and it had a list of like 10 different demos. It was one of the best demo discs that I ever actually had, because it was like 10 playable demos on it. You had anything from likes of Tomb Raider and lots of heavy hitters, and then you had this on top of it as well. Now you can only play for one half of a game, but I remember playing that demo for hours, even for going on for months even, because I was actually addicted to it. It's one of those type of games that, right, it doesn't play to the same kind of style or realistic stance of the likes of when you compare it to the likes of FIFA 98 or the Pro Evolution or ISIS Pro series, but it's a lot of fun in general for what it does. It's tricky and it is quirky and it can be difficult for the beginner, but when you get into it, it's just one of those games that just is a lot of fun. Now mind you, there'll be a lot of button bashing going on to try and win the ball, but it's generally just a lot of fun. With the fast paced nature of the game, it's just there's so much going on at the same time that sometimes it can be difficult to keep up with it, but it's a good laugh altogether. And that's what I found from playing the demo, and from playing that demo, that's how I found a lot of the tricks that you could use in the game, especially that you could also use the same trick in the first game that I later found out once I got to play that also, that you can lob the keeper from say nearly just over the halfway line. Now it's tricky to do if you hold the whatever direction you're going in. If you're shooting to right or left, you always hold the opposite direction when you're actually hitting the shoot button. And what the player should do is what he will do is he'll lob the ball, and there's a very good chance that you can lob the keeper from that. That's how I would score the majority of the goals, because trying to score goals through normal play in this game is very difficult, because the chances are someone will come in and get you with a 2-foot tackle and just literally just take the ball off you. Or what usually happens is no matter what type of shot you play, the keeper usually saves it. Sometimes the only way you can either score a goal normally is if you take a shot and there's a player in the way and it bounces off him, and then that player can get the ball and you just stick it in an empty net. That's usually how you would score, because if you try to score normally, the chances are the keeper will save it. But the only other alternative I found to score goals in the game was literally just to lob the keeper every time, which I found from constantly playing the demo of this game. And I have to say now, I know it's not the best soccer game on the console, it's far from it, but I had a ton of fun with it, and I really enjoyed my time with the demo. And then when I got to play the full games as well, I have to say now, I had a blast with them. They're a really good, fun, different type of game. That's the thing to take away from it. It's not a realistic football game by any means, although considering when it was released back in the early days of the PlayStation, these games were considered to be among some of the best soccer games that were available on any console at the time. But then when you had the likes of FIFA 98, Road to World Cup, and then ISIS Pro, when they came out, that completely changed the way we played games, because everything after that, we were looking for more realism. So games tended to move away from the arcade aesthetic. But in saying that, the later sequels with Adidas Power Soccer 2 and 98, they did try to change things up, but they still kept that kind of fast-paced arcade style nature. But by then, gamers had started to evolve and adapt, and they started to move away from these type of pick up and play style games where they wanted more focus and more simulation, and they wanted more competitiveness in the games. So games like this started to kind of die down a little bit, if you will. So that's what obviously led to the demise of the Adidas Power Soccer series after the 98 edition, and there was no more games released after that. But it still doesn't take away from the quirky nature of these games for the generation and for the time it was during the 5th generation of consoles. It is a lot of fun to play. It's definitely different from a lot of the other soccer games that you would play, although it may not have aged well, but you'll still have a blast with it if you go to play it. Like, if you're an absolute beginner coming in, it will take a while to get used to the certain dynamics and tricks, but there's a lot of fun to be had with this game. But if you're a former player of the game and you used to own it, it's worthwhile revisiting just to have that nostalgic feeling, because it is a good laugh and you will have a lot of fun. Like, there's nothing better than when you do log the keeper and then you just hear the crowd going bananas. It's so much fun. So it is. So I really do have fond memories of this game, and it's particularly the demo that I played of it as well. I put a lot of time into that and I really enjoyed it over the years. And funny enough, when I think about it, I still go back to play it every so often, because it's just, for me, it's just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. And I'd love to know your thoughts of Adidas Power Soccer International 97 for the PS1, and what did you think of the game overall, and how did you play the game initially? Did you play it on a demo or did you play the full game? And what's your favourite game in the series, if you have enjoyed it? I'd love to hear whatever stories you have of this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated of future videos. And in the meantime, if you want to see more content around other types of soccer games also released on the PS1, then you can check out the playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.